In any negotiation, we think we get what leverage is. It's all about what you bring to the table, right? Well, what if I told you game theory shows us a totally hidden and way more powerful source of leverage? It's not about what you bring to the table at all. It's about how cheaply you can threaten to flip it over. And believe me, that changes everything. Okay, let's just dive right into this with a simple little puzzle that sets the whole stage perfectly. It comes from this really fascinating paper by game theorists Elon Kohlberg and Abraham Neyman, and it just messes with our basic ideas about what's fair and what something's worth. So picture this. There's a public official, and they have the sole power to approve one of several super profitable projects. You've got multiple companies all fighting for this deal, and the total profit is just huge. But here's the catch. The official doesn't get paid for signing the document. Their salary is totally fixed. They don't make a single dime from saying yes. So what do you think is the real economic value of their signature? Now, this is where it gets really interesting, how we might try to solve this. Our first instinct, right, is to find a simple, fair solution. But in the world of strategic threats, what seems fair usually isn't that simple. A simple split would just, divide the profits among the companies and leave the official with nothing. But that completely ignores the reality of the situation. That official has a unique and absolute power, the power to say no to literally everyone. And that no, well, that's a threat. It's a threat to destroy all the potential profits on the table. So the real split, the one that happens in the real world, is based on the power of that threat. So to really measure this power, we need a much better tool. And this is where game theorists came up with this brilliant concept called the value to calculate the true worth of anyone's position in a negotiation. It's called simply the value. And it's a way to figure out a player's worth not by what they contribute, but by the power of their threats. Think of it like this. The more you can damage everyone else's payday, the more they have to pay you just to get you to cooperate. But here's the secret ingredient that makes this whole idea so powerful. As the great game theorist Shapley himself pointed out, not all threats are created equal. You know what the most important factor is? How much it costs you to make the threat. See, a threat that hurts you just as much as your opponent, well, it's not very powerful. But a threat that costs you almost nothing and costs them a ton, now that's where the real leverage is. All right, let's jump into a really simple game to see how this brilliant idea actually works in practice. This is going to show us how even a threat that seems totally self-destructive, what game theorists call an incredible threat, can completely change the outcome of a negotiation. Okay, take a look at this table. We've got two firms, alpha and beta. I want you to focus on that top left box. If they both cooperate, alpha gets 1 and beta gets 5. That's the best combined outcome for them, a total of 6. But let's be honest, it's a pretty raw deal for alpha. Now, look at alpha's threat option on that bottom row. If they play it while beta is cooperating, alpha actually loses 1 unit of value. I mean, it looks like a terrible, self-defeating move. Why would they ever even think about it? From a normal competitive view, it seems totally irrational. And this is where the magic happens. Without that threat, alpha is totally stuck getting just 1. But when we factor in the power of that threat, even though they'll probably never actually use it, the entire game changes. The math of the value actually forces a side payment, shifting the final outcome to a much fairer 2.5 for alpha and 3.5 for beta. The threat doesn't even have to be carried out. Just the possibility of it is enough to reshape the whole negotiation. This whole thing brilliantly shows how we can apply this powerful logic right back to our opening puzzle about the official's signature, and really so many other real-world situations where you see these power dynamics at play. So, let's go back to our public official. How much is that signature actually worth? Well, according to this model, a single regulator's authority gives them the power to claim about 1/4 of the total profits being created. That's insane. Their ability to just say no to everyone forces all these competing projects to give up a huge chunk of their potential winnings. Oh, but it gets even more dramatic. What if a project needs approval from lots of different regulators? Well, now you've got a bottleneck. And when every single one of them has to say yes, their collective threat power to say no becomes almost absolute. Together, they can suck up nearly 100% of all the available profit. And this same logic is all over the business world. Imagine two firms colluding to set monopoly prices. Firm 1 has lower production costs than Firm 2. So who gets more of the profit? Firm 1 does. And why? Because its threat to break the deal and start a price war is cheaper. It costs them less to cause chaos, and that makes their threat way more powerful. And that cheap threat earns them a bigger slice of the profit pie. So, look, the really crucial point here is that this isn't just some abstract theory. This gives you a powerful mental model for understanding leverage and negotiation in your own professional and, yeah, even your personal life. So, here's a simple little checklist you can use. Step 1, just map out who's involved and what they want. Step 2, assess the threats. And remember to include all of them, even the ones that look totally self-destructive. Step 3 is the key. Weigh the costs. How much does it cost them to threaten you, and what does it cost you to be threatened? And finally, step 4, redefine what's fair. The final split isn't about who contributes the most. It's about the balance of that threat power. And that brings us to our final thought. Every single time you enter a negotiation for a job, a contract, a partnership, your power to say no, to just walk away, has a real, tangible economic value. It is your ultimate, and honestly, your most underestimated threat. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What is the hidden value of your ability to walk away?